Okay, so in this recording what I'm going to show you is how to do the average grade. So I have the program here for the grade and the subgrade, and the first thing I suggest to you is that sorry, I'm missing my return 0 there. The first thing I suggest to you is that you put all of this into a function, all of this section here, and that's what I'm going to do as well. So I'm going to cut that. I'm going to write my function up here just to make it easier on myself. This function won't return anything, it doesn't need to. It just prints things out. It's passed an integer though. And so we just take it in that way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a unit, an int unit in here for my subgrade bit. Okay. And so I can get rid of that unit there because that's calculated inside the function. And so all I do to call this, as I said, call it grade, grade, and send it the percentage. Okay, we'll just test that that's working properly. And it's not. Undefined reference to grade. What did I call it up here? Oh, I called it grades instead of grade. Okay, so that's fine. So remember always to read carefully the error message that you get, because it does normally contain some information that helps you out. So if I do a 55, I should get an F, that's fine, and I'll run it again, and I'll give a 67, and that should give me a D, and then I'll do a 70, oh, sorry, F11, do a 70, that should give me a D+, okay, and a 71 should give me a C-, and it does. Okay, so that seems to be working fine. Now, so we've now separated the actual printing out of grades from the task of getting the percentages and so on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a for loop just like the previous one to ask for 10 of these. And obviously make my integer I here. I assign 0. I smaller than 10. Okay. Now, so this will then ask for the percentage 10 times, and in each case it will print out the grade that's there. Use 20%. I'm just reading the question again just to make sure, and you then change this. Yeah, so we have to print out the alpha grade and the subgrade for each percentage that is input, and finally we have to calculate the overall thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a total here as well. This is like our sum. Assign that to value 0, that's an int. And so what I'm going to do is after each one of these I'm going to say total plus PRC and TAG. Current percentage. I'm just going to change this to a capital P to kind of stay constant with my usual style. Okay. And down here then I can calculate the average percentage. Now you'll notice that I'm putting the average percentage as an int, and that's because the program above can't handle a floating point percentage. It can only handle integer percentages, so we're going to have to just do with the closest percentage to us, or at least it'll be truncated down to that. So what I'm going to say is average percentage is assigned total divided by 10, because we're putting in 10 students. And then what we're going to do is we're going to call grade again, grades, and we're going to send it the average percentage. But before I do that, I'm going to do a printf here that says average grade, grade is, and I'm going to end it at that. The reason being that as soon as I call this grades function, it will print out the grade straight after it. And then we have our return down below. Okay, so that should be pretty much it, unless I'm mistaken. We'll just give it a go. So we'll compile and run that. So we have a few mistakes. Total. Okay, so the first guy is going to get 50. Next guy is going to get 60. Next guy is going to get 70. This guy is going to get 80. And I'll give a 90. I'll give a 100. I'll give another 90. I'll give an 80. I'll give a 70. I'll give a 60. And we can see that the average grade, and I've spelt grade wrong, I spelled it as grade, is a C. Okay. Now, what's no harm for me to do here is to show that it's working, is to print out the average percentage as well. While I'm at it, I'm going to go up and fix that spelling mistake, which I've managed to copy down all the way along. Grade. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll give every student 70 and 80. In each case, 70 and another 80, and a 70 and another 80, and a 70 and an 80, and a 70 and an 80. And so the average percentage is 75, and that is a grade C, which if you check up on the thing, that's perfectly correct. It's not a C plus or a C minus. So that's how you do that program, and it's really to do with putting all of this inside a function, and then having your for loop call the thing 10 times, and then start doing your averaging and so on up at the end. Okay. Now, the last problem that we need to do is a factorial. And I'll just pause there for a moment while I fill up the... Okay, so in this one, what you're asked to do is you're asked to write a function that calculates the factorial of a number and returns it, and then we'll write a main function to actually go and test it. So we're going to return an int from this. We'll call it factorial. There's more than one way of doing this program, but I'm going to show you the way I would normally do it, and if I can remember the other way. I actually got asked this at a job interview one time to write this on a board, so it's an interesting one to be able to do. You're taking an integer, we'll just call that num, and what we'll do is we'll run a for loop. 5 times, so we'll just, as many times as it takes. Int I I smaller than, I assigned 0. I'll do it the other way around. I is assigned num, so start at the number, and it goes until I is, while I is greater than, what's the best way to do, while I is greater than or equal, greater than 0. Okay, so while I is greater than 0, if it goes to 0, it should stop, and we don't want it to run at that case. So it should stop at 1. We're going to do an I minus minus because that's kind of how we consider it when we write it anyway. And so what we do is we then have an integer here called fact, which is going to be the factorial of the number, and I'm going to set that to 1. That's vitally important because rather than 0, we're doing multiplies in this case. So I'm going to say fact is assigned fact multiplied by I as I goes down. So I starts at number, let's say that's 5. Next time, so it gets 5 multiplied by 1 is 5. Next time round, I will be a 4, so it's 5 multiplied by 4. Then it's 5 multiplied, that gives you 20. Then next time it's the 20 multiplied by the 3, that's the 60, and it goes on in that fashion. Okay. Sorry, not return 0, but return fact. And for this then we're just going to ask the user take in the number %d and %num, and then we call fact. Make an integer here called fact that's going to hold the final number, so we'll say fact is assigned factorial, which is the function that we're calling, and we're sending it num. And then we'll do a printf of this, so we'll say the factorial. In fact, I'm actually just going to use the term that's in maths that denotes factorial there. So do %d is %d/n, and I put in there firstly num because that's the number that's coming in, and the next one is fact. And we'll see how that works. I think we're already running a previous program here, so just end that. So I'm going to enter 5, and factorial 5 is 120, and I can definitely tell you that is correct. And so if we try another one, try 6, that'll be 6 times 120, which will be 720. Okay, so that's working there. Okay. Now, as I said, there is another mechanism of doing this called recursion. If I get time, I'll do a separate. I don't want to put it in here in order to confuse the issue, but if I get time, I'll just do a separate recording on that, just to show the mechanism for doing that. But I don't want to confuse it with the for loop that we're using for the moment, which is what we're trying to learn in this section.